page as well as YouTube. But if anyone has any issues getting hold of it, I can email you if you like. But to introduce, this is Hayden and Cade from the Sydney Zoo Carney team, more so the exotics department as a whole. And they're going to talk about the enrichment program at Sydney Zoo and how they kind of structure it and go about it. So I will leave it to you guys to kick it off.
Cool. Yep. We'll share our screen quickly. Cool. Can everyone see that? Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Should we start? Cool. Well, as Beck mentioned, I'm Hayden and this is Cade, and we work a part of Sydney Zoo's exotics department, but we specifically do the carnivore side of things. So Cade and I were really passionate and interested in pretty much all things enrichment, and we have quite a few cool species that we do get to work with. And obviously, we're all zookeepers and have a background, and we all know how important enrichment is to physically and mentally stimulate our animals, and the importance of utilizing that enrichment to allow them to have a long, fun-filled life in their time in the zoo. So we've made this little presentation just to explore how we do enrichment here at the zoo, the processes that we go through, whether that's safety or making sure that across our safety and animal safety as well, and some cool ideas that hopefully you guys get to take and implement into your own facilities. So obviously we believe as keepers that we're all here to sort of help each other out and enrich and better the well-being of our animals' lives. So it's pretty much the basis of our talk today. Switch it over. There we go. So just a little bit of background for our presentation today. So first we'll go through the introduction of the species of the collection that we have. We'll go through the goal-based enrichments, enrichment approval forms, scoring systems, and enrichment calendars. That will also include some data analysis stuff that we do here at the zoo through Zoo Monitor. Examples of some of the enrichment that we do, particularly for our larger carnivores as well. And then the challenges we faced. And if you guys have any questions, and of course, we're more than happy to answer them at the end. So we do have 7 species housed here at Sydney Zoo. That includes the African wild dog, the African lion, cheetahs, spotted hyena, tiger, Asian small-clawed otter, and red pandas. We'll go a little bit into more of the groupings and the clan sizes and all that throughout the presentation. That's just the basis of things.
Alrighty, so our enrichment program here at Sydney Zoo is very much based around achieving goal-based behaviours. So before we initiate any sort of enrichment program, we set goals. So we try and look at the natural behaviour of the species that we're trying to work with, look at the social sort of structure of the animals that we house, and then obviously look into the individuals. So there are definitely, every animal has a different personality, very similar to us humans. So we need to try and cater to that as well. So we set goals to start our sort of enrichment process. And we always try and encourage natural behaviours when we're trying to sort of establish this enrichment. It's an amazing program. It's worked really well for us. We've only sort of started it in the last sort of 6 months. Before it was sort of chop and change of little bits of what we have now, but we feel like we've really refined it into a really good system. We've created it to the point where it's really efficient for us keepers. We can basically come in every day, just look on the calendar and look in the list and find and pick out an enrichment that's pretty much already prepared and set out for us. So it holds us accountable, but it also, is better for the animals as well, because they're constantly getting really highly successful enrichment items almost every single day. We do try and always enrich our animals every single day. Obviously, as most of you know, that things happen all the time, and we aren't always able to have the best, most fun every day for our animals. But we always try and at least have something ready, and that's where these calendars and enrichment lists that we've created really come in to help us sort of formulate that. And then, of course, it helps to really create that framework to not only meet but also exceed the 5 domains model that we should all hope to achieve in all of our facilities.
So this is our animal enrichment approval forms. So every enrichment that we have has to go through this sort of document. Basically ensures that the enrichment item is obviously for that animal, but also a big safety thing as well. So to the left of the screen, you see the buoy there. This is for our tigers. We have a tiger named Charlie. He absolutely loves water play and loves flotation devices and stuff. And we found this discarded buoy. So we thought, no, it might be good to trial that with it. But in order to do that, again, we have to go through this. So on the right side, you have a bunch of questions that we have to sort of answer and fill out, and of course a little description and stuff too. If you haven't found something or it's something that you're wanting to do but you don't quite have a picture, you're more than welcome to put sketches and drawings and stuff just to get the message across of what you're trying to achieve through that goal base for that animal. Now this is created by the keeper and then it's sent through an enrichment committee. So here at Sydney Zoo we have an enrichment committee that goes through all the enrichments for animals, and then that of course goes up to the curator or the manager at the time as well to ultimately be approved or not. But it's a very unique and important process that we do have to go through just to make sure our animals, one, also having fun, but also not going to get injured in the process as well. Is me as well? You can know.
So the next step, once that sort of process has been completed and it's deemed that the item or the enrichment sort of activity has been deemed safe, but also appropriate for animals to be able to have access to either on habitat or back of house, individual or as a group. It then goes through our enrichment monitoring and scoring sort of process. So this is sort of our step 2 of how we do it. We will do as best as possible to always have keepers observing every new enrichment item, and if possible we actually use the Zoo Monitor program as well to map and track their interactions with the actual enrichment item to monitor different behaviors, their reaction to it, and then we can deem whether or not we want to use it in the future. So pretty much the scoring system you can see here on the screen, that is what we use for every enrichment item. So anytime we use something new, we trial it several times just to make sure that it's not, you know, their mood or the weather or their behavior or whatever that's actually having an impact on whether or not that enrichment item is going to be successful. So it'll be given a rating. Basically, unsafe enrichment is flagged for review or potential modifications. If it's just flat out unsafe, will then discard it and we won't be using it again. That 2 to 3 range, where it's either highly or moderately unsuccessful, we will try and change things to make it more safe or make it more desirable for the animal to actually interact with. Keeping in mind that we're always trying to encourage those natural behaviors and positive natural behaviors. We don't want the animal to be scared or petrified of anything. So we're always trying to make sure that the animal is enjoying themselves and actually gaining something out of this enrichment. And then of course 4 and 5, the goal behaviors have been achieved. Ideally we want number 5, so that long duration with repeated interaction. And that's something that we use the Zoo Monitor program for. We can actually track how many times an animal is interacting with the actual enrichment item, but then also the duration that they're actually interacting with it as well, which is fantastic. And basically the whole goal of this is to create a monthly calendar that will give us a whole range of different items that we can use for each of the different behaviors that we're seeking to sort of achieve with these enrichment items. And that way we can create that calendar. And ideally using it only for those 4 and 5 level scoring enrichment items to basically continue to create that sort of high level engagement with all the enrichment items for every single one of the animals that we look after.
So this is sort of a calendar for our otter group. We have 2, a male and female, here at the zoo. The bare minimum is obviously 2 enrichment items a day, but if you find time or you find something really cool that you do want to put in, then obviously we're more than welcome to put that in for our otters. But it's all through categories, and this is the goals that we're trying to achieve through our enrichment as well. So for example, the first of the month is in the morning. This is AM and PM enrichment. So top one is AM, so cognitive. So we'll have a whole list of different things on a category scale, and then we have investigation on the second, and then every day it sort of changes. But we do try and switch this out monthly or every 2 months, depending on how successful that month was. And then we also have a novelty section down the bottom. Basically, keepers creative freedom. If you have something new or you want to modify a certain enrichment, then that's a good day to do it. But again, this isn't set in stone. If you do want to change some things around, it's just basically a guideline for us that if you're really tough on time, then this is sort of a guideline that you can follow. And again, as Kate said, holds us accountable and allows us to enrich our animals every single day, which is what we found really helpful. So as you guys will know, time's a bit of a precious resource when you're working here at any sort of facility. So yeah, sort of allows us to sort of take a breather and make sure that we're still achieving and ticking all those boxes for animals.
This is a list of all the different items that we have for each of the different goal behaviors that we're trying to achieve. So we can, use that, like Hayden said, we can use that calendar for several months in a row because for the cognitive and the first day of the month, you can see there are several different items for cognitive. So it'll never be the same. And this allows us really to be very flexible with how we do our enrichment. If we're having a really busy day, we can just pick something that's very easily sort of obtained and thrown out or set up in the habitat. If we have a little bit more time, we can try and choose things that are a little bit more sort of complicated and sort of extensive to set up. Obviously, we always try and do sort of gauge our day around how much time we have, but we always try and set up the coolest enrichment that we possibly can. And those are the different sort of categories that we're trying to look for. So ideally, the enrichment that is a part of those lists will be hoping to achieve those sort of behaviors. But of course, there are some things in hunting and foraging that will also, be investigation. So it's not always sort of set in stone, but this is just a rough idea. And this was actually our very first Otter one. Our new Otter one is actually way more extensive than this. But you will also note that there is actually some spare gaps, and they're for new enrichment items. So for example, if there is a day where you have a little bit more time and you want to try a new enrichment item and it's been through those first two processes, that can then be added to this sort of list. And then we usually sort of do an assessment every 2 to 3 months. And that's when we will add new items, take items off, that sort of stuff. And that's usually when the monthly calendar is actually rearranged and changed so the days are all different as well.
Yeah, I mean, we try and reduce the amount of times we use them too. So in the completed section for that month, we'll tick off it was done on the 9th of January, for example, and then that allows us as keepers to go like, all right, they've already had tire feeders that are hung up, so we're probably not going to use that again this month because we're trying to make it a novelty for them and do something different every single day so they don't get bored.
And the goal ideally, no, you're right. The goal ideally is that list that we've just created is more than the 30 items or 60 items in the Otter's case because they have the at least 2 enrichment items a day. Ideally, you want that list to be as big as possible so that there is just that huge range of different enrichment items that you can possibly use. And so ideally creating just new, fun, exciting enrichment. So if they get the same thing all the time or, once a week, potentially those sort of the rating might actually drop because it's not as exciting. I had that a couple of days ago. So we want that to keep that nice, sort of fresh, exciting enrichment calendar to constantly make it some new and exciting things for them to actually go out and explore and investigate or hunt and forage, that sort of things. So this is sort of some zoo monitor data. This is actually just an activity budget that we did. One of our uni students actually came and did a lot of work on our 2 Asian blood otters. But this is sort of a good idea of how roughly we will sort of gauge the type of enrichment item activity that each of our otters interact with, how long they interacted with it for. And you can see that in the left-hand side, the enrichment interaction changes depending on the time of the year. So for our otters, warmer weather means that they're a little bit more active and want to play with their enrichment items a little bit longer, whereas compare that to sort of during the middle of the year when it's colder, they tend not to spend as much time. So we might look at that data and try and reduce the amount of items that is in the water, and that way they're not in the water and getting extra cold. Maybe having more things that are on land so that they actually want to interact with that a little bit more. So we can use this Zoo Monitor data to really chop and change and basically change the way we do enrichment depending on the time of the year or depending on the time of the seasons they're going through. Our female otter seems to be going through some hormonal changes. So she becomes really active for about a month, and then the next month she's really quite lethargic and doesn't want to be as active as much. So we can sort of change our enrichment schedule depending on their behavior by using this Zoo Monitor data that we actually take as well.
Yeah, it's a really helpful tool that we found as well. Obviously, as keepers, we find that we only see our animals a very small portion of the day, so we don't actually know what's happening a lot throughout the hours. So when we have uni placements or students that come in, we can set them up with this sort of device. It's a super, super simple sort of thing to be able to plot data in, and it pretty much spits it all out for you. So you don't really have to do too much tedious combing through data and stuff. We use another program called Power BI, and that pretty much spits out all this data and the graphs for you. So if you were hopeless at math like I was in high school, then you don't have to go back to year 12 and figure out how to use Excel spreadsheets and all that. It pretty much, does it all for you. So, and again, it's completely tailored to your animal as well. So there's not a single way to do it. For example, for me, I've done a few tiger studies with our population of tigers here, and it's completely different to what Cade's looking at. So it's a really, really interesting program to use. If you obviously guys want to know more about that, Beck's one of our our leaders in the Zoom monitor here, but we'll leave our emails and stuff at the end of the presentation as well on the Facebook page. And if you guys have any questions about it all, we'd be more than happy to answer anything you guys might have.
And send you Beck's way.
Yeah, exactly. Send you Beck's way. All right. So with our sort of things, we do it through three sort of types. So we do the made enrichment style, the bought enrichments, and then the recycled enrichments. So this is an example of something that Cade and I, it's not completely finished yet, but you'll see by the end. This is what it's meant to look like on the left. We'll get there towards the end. But this is the first time that Cade and I have actually experimented with mock rocking. Mock rocking can be an amazing tool, very naturalistic and very durable thing that we can do. This is for our otters. So it's a slow insect feeder. Trying to encourage our pair to be able to display more throughout the day, but also be enriched by hunting sort of live prey as well through forms of insects. So this is sort of a stump that we'll be making. So throughout the roots here, there'll be little holes where the insects will slowly crawl out of, and the top of the stump there'll be like a container where you house the insects, and throughout the day the insects start to crawl out, and the otters can just sit around and wait for the insects to come out. So it encourages them to have many natural forage behaviors. So it's a step-by-step process. So we found a long, big PVC pipe, and then we sort of shaped and formed the smaller PVC pipes through the bigger ones to allow for that sort of root structure and allow for the tunnel for the insects to come through. Once we bent it to all the different ways, you can see there's many different PVC pipes sticking out. So the otters can't just sit at one pipe and just wait for insects to slowly feed into their mouths. They have to go around the whole log to try and find where the insects are coming out of. So once we got our sort of rough design, we coated it in sort of wire, and then we got some of the expanding foam to sort of shape more the root structure and the shape of the stump. It looks a bit like a volcano or a hot mess at the moment. But as we started sort of shaping that sort of down, we get some chicken wire so the foam can stick to it. And then the beauty of the foam is that you can shape it to whatever shape you like. It's nice and smooth and allows the concrete to stick onto it nicely as well. So in step 10, you can sort of see it's more like a mortar and brick concrete, which allows it to sort of set and really form and bond. So we recycle a lot of old teff hay and a lot of loosened hay as well. Thanks to our ungulate team. Shout out to them. They save a lot of offcuts and stuff for that. And we mix it throughout the concrete to give us some form and the bond. And then step 11 is where we're at the moment. It looks nothing like a stump, but we got a whole lot more to do. We've got to do another coat through different colors and textures and put the lid on top and stuff as well. So it's extremely heavy. It's a work in progress, but it's a few hot days coming up. So we'll see how we go. This is quite recent. And again, this is our very first venture with mock rocking. So we believe that enrichment, it's such a fun thing because you just pretty much explode your mind on a screen. We're very lucky here that our manager and our manager's manager and stuff is very supportive of being creative and supporting us through our enrichment endeavors that allow us to create these really cool enrichments. And even if they're a complete fail, we don't believe in failures. They're just a prototype. That's what we call them a lot. Prototype 1, and sometimes they can be 10 prototypes. That's okay. It's in the name of the animals and making their lives really, really fun. You keep talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
Tigers, yeah.
So animals are very close to my heart. It's tigers. So I do spend a lot of time working out different ways to be able to keep them enriched. We do have 3 individuals. They're all siblings, and they're what we would call a geriatric tiger. They are 18, so they're doing very, very well for their age. So we have Charlie, Mika, and Sunita. They are a socialized grouping, so they are able to live together, which is pretty cool. It's not really heard of to see siblings, which is nice. But there's a few categories here. So obviously we all use them at some point in our keeping lives. But icebox with some meat in it, that's a fan favorite for them. But beauty of our tigers is that every single one of them is completely different. So a bit of a challenge, but also a bit of a fun thing for us as well, is that if you just chuck one enrichment out that, for example, Mika really likes, the other 2 probably aren't going to interact with it that much because they're not really a fan of what Mika likes. So it allows us to sort of chop and change throughout the day, put multiple types of enrichment out for them so they all get a go. We don't necessarily have to put all 3 out on the habitat. We can just do a solo or a duo to have that enrichment fun. But for example, with the Hessian Sachs there, that's the beautiful Mika, not to pick favorites, but she's my favorite. And she loves Hessian Sachs and some scents and stuff all over it. So obviously this is something that really works for our animals. Your animals may be completely individualistic, may not be safe for your animals. So this is something that works for us, and we have been through the processes to do all this. So don't blame me if you chuck a Hessian sack in and something goes pear-shaped. This is something that really works for our tigers. So yeah, Hessian sacks, Mika loves. Sunita up in the top left with the drag logs there. She loves anything with food. She's definitely one of the most food motivated tigers that we have. So we can tie her diet to heavy logs, and that encourages her to pull her diet item across the habitat where she feels safe. Obviously, that's a bigger sort of natural thing that we'll do with their diet, drag her to somewhere that feels nice and safe. This was a bit of a random one, a novelty in the bottom left. That's just a gigantic ice cube. That was last year's summer adventure. And yeah, there was meatsicles and stuff. And then down the bottom right, we have meat logs. So we hang them up around the habitat, forces the cats to stand up on their back legs, good mobility, and good concentration as well, and sort of unstable on their front feet too, to sort of get them that cognitive brain thinking of how to get their meat out of that log. As obviously, as I said, they are aged, so we are trying not to do enrichments that would put them at harm with their joints and stuff. So in that top left photo there, the drag logs, you can see a nice big pole. They used to be a climbing pole. They can climb to the top, grab some diet, and jump down. We tend not to do that anymore due to their age. So it's all about adapting our enrichment schedules and calendars to the age and the well-being of the animals. So we try and do a lot less invasive stuff. A lot of the time, water stuff. So water is really good for their joints and muscles. So Charlie, he's again a big water baby, and you'll see some water play in just a second. And then we got some more. So Charlie, he's majority on this page here. He's the fun one to do enrichment for. So down the bottom right, that's an example of recycled enrichment. Again, that's the boy. That's his favorite thing in the world. So we have a nice big pool here. He jumps in and swims around, tries to grab it. We just recently ordered some more boys, which would be pretty cool. So we'll be trialing them very, very shortly. Got to do the risk assessment first. Top right is something that Kate and I made, again, through a recycled fire hose. We got donated from the fire department. We found with our tigers, if it's like the cloth sort of fire hose, they tend to chew it a lot easier than the rubbery sort of fire hose. We're very lucky with our cats. They tend not to eat the fire hose. If they do tend to shred it, they'll just spit it out, and that's completely fine. This was for their birthday. It was a nice big present. You can sort of see the bow tie on the top. We have tug war down here, so it sort of gets us exercising, also them exercising as well. So we're on one side, they're on the other side, obviously, and we're playing a bit of tug war. Really good keeper interaction, but also really good crowd interaction as well. So rather than just doing a tiger talk with a tiger walking around aimlessly, trying to find food, it's something that the visitors and the guests can watch to sort of see how we sort of excel in that enrichment aspect as well. And then obviously a different form of meat logs, and then Sunita with those nice big, what do you call them?
Yeah.
Oyster breeds, marine thingies. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't have to be too spanking brand new. It can obviously be lots of recycled stuff, and they love it just the same. So it's pretty cool.
All right. So another item that we use that's recycled is we're very lucky. There's actually a warehouse company that must be in some sort of food production. They have food coloring or food dye in these big barrels, and they actually donate them to us at the zoo. And I believe most teams actually use these big blue barrels. And all of our cats love them. Our wild dogs love them. We can use them in lots of different ways. For our lions specifically, they love them just as is. They will, they will love them just to play with them as is by themselves. Our tigers, generally, just being a little bit older, they do prefer to actually, they need the food around the barrels to actually interact with them. Most of the time, they're not that keen. The lions, especially one lion in particular, is a little bit possessive. That's the one lion there playing with his little barrel. He will just pick up the barrel and then go and just sit with it, and he'll guard that all day. It's his little toy. We've been able to do some really cool enrichment items. The seesaws on the left. The lions, again, just need it as just the barrel by itself. They don't need any food with it, and they love to play with it and run around with it. It's a really good social toy as well. Sometimes the boys will actually chase the one barrel together. We've tied them together as one big snake of barrels. And the one on the left. Yeah. So it's a really cool enrichment item that is very simple, very basic. It doesn't look very naturalistic, but it provides our animals with such an amazing enrichment item, and we're able to get them for almost nothing. The company donates them to us regularly, and it's used by all the other teams. So even our ungulate team will actually use them as feeders. Our rhino, I believe, also loves our blue barrels. So that's just a good example of sort of going out there and finding other companies that have stuff that they would normally just chuck out that we can actually utilize here at the zoo and utilize it highly successfully. Our lions are obsessed with it, and it's utilized in other sections of the zoo really successfully as well.
Yeah, you'll actually be surprised how much what other people think is junk is actually a treasured thing for animals. So
yes,
I do love a bit of junk.
Yeah.
Oh, already had that one. Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna skip through all the videos again. All right.
And finally, when the zoo finally approves to spend a little bit of money, it's important to use that enrichment as well. So obviously, Kong does some amazing things, creating some amazing toys and enrichment items for our animals. But this is by far one of the most successful items that we've actually purchased for animals here at the zoo, and that is a cheetah lure. So we'll show you a couple of videos and some photos as well. And you guys can watch how awesome it is.
This was the very first trial, one of these videos. It's a whole lot better now.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not a huge open range zoo like some you may be used to. So obviously some of your animals may have huge wide open acres upon acres to roam. Being a city zoo, that's obviously not possible at this point. So we have to try and figure out some cool ways to get the world's fastest animal to be able to display those skills that they're made for. We're going again. There we go. So this is a little Moyo to the right, and then just next to Moyo, we have pretty much the lure. So it's a little battery inside, and the little red wheel spins quite fast. We have been told that the lure can go up to around 100, 110 k's an hour at full speed. So that definitely does match the speed of the capabilities of the cheetahs. Now, originally, the guy that we got this off, the company is called Renegade. He was a dog racer or a dog lure guy that did it for dog training, but he developed a big cat and a falconry one, which is pretty cool. So Kate and I did a bit of research and a deep dive into it, and we got to talking, and yeah, this is pretty much the end product. And then it also proves some very cool action shots to the left. Wendaji, one of the three males that we have, he is definitely the one that excels and is the most motivated for it. Moyo, it's an interesting one. He sort of just gallops, just really like to run too fast, but it's still fun and really enriching for him to watch. Yeah, and we tie like a little, just from like Big W, like a little dog toy to it. I think a fox is their favorite at the moment, and they chase up a little toy fox. And yeah, they don't pull it apart or anything. We sort of put training into it as well. So once the cheetah successfully catches the prey, or sometimes not catches the prey, depending on how well they've run or how well they've hunted, we whistle and bridge them, and then we reward them with a nice big jackpot of meat for participating and for being a successful hunt, in other words. This is just another clip. Does pick up speed. We do free contact with our cheetahs too, which is quite cool. So it does allow us to get that reward pretty much straight away. We don't have to go chucking over fences or missing shots or anything. The cheetahs do not seem to mind at all, and they quite enjoy it actually. So we're going in. All right.
So there's some of the examples of the different types of enrichment that we use. So obviously, the money can be an issue. So stuff like the cheetah lure, it wasn't cheap, it was expensive. And so not all zoos and facilities are willing to be able to, invest a lot of money into that sort of enrichment items. And that's where, creation and creating things and recycling different items from either around the zoo or from other companies outside of the zoo is really important. But, challenges we always face, I think, as everyone can probably attest to in the zoo industry, is time, money, and resources. Our days are always hectic, doing lots of different things. Enrichment is sometimes put on the back burner a little bit if we are stressed out or we have too much other stuff going on. Cleaning is probably a little bit more important, but we've always tried to make enrichment a really high priority, and that's why the enrichment and list system has worked really well for us, because it enables us to sort of be a little bit flexible in our day, and I guess across the whole month as well. Another challenge we face is hyenas. They obviously, due to their jaw strength and their incessant need to just want to eat everything. We have found it a little bit more difficult to enrich them compared to some other animals, just because if we were to chuck fire hose or a blue barrel into their habitat, it'd be gone in about 10 minutes. But we've tried to work around that with lots of different things, like using more natural resources, like a lot of wood, logs, sticks, that sort of stuff. But then also utilize their training. Just because of how intelligent they are, we will train them a couple of times a day. In the morning, we shift out and do a lot of shifting and recall training. And then same with a lot of their more advanced behaviors we'll sort of do in the afternoon after they've all been fed. So we've tried to utilize training as part of their enrichment to sort of get that cognitive ability being used. But then also we've obviously had, over the last 2 years, we've had quite a lot of breeding success with our hyenas. So trying to make sure that everything that we put out for our hyenas as enrichment is also not only safe for the adults, but also safe for the cubs as well. So we have some quite young cubs who have only just got their teeth coming through, so we don't want to be putting anything out there that's going to damage them or damage those little baby teeth of theirs. So that's another consideration, is to constantly be aware of not only the species that you work with, but also the individuals that make up your collection as well, and sort of shaping your enrichment program to the individuals as well, and making things tough as well. Making items durable for hyenas can be a challenge as well.
Yeah. Lions sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So like the seesaw that you saw before,
Yeah.
tigers, you can use that over and over again. There's not a single issue. We put in with the lions, and it probably lasts about 5 minutes, and they've managed to just break metal, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And buddings only go so far.
Yeah.
So you have to try and find different ways to have more durable items and stuff to adapt those enrichments. So that's why we love it as well. Keeps our minds thinking. We don't get bored ever at a day here, trying to figure out fun ways to be able to make it fun for them.
And even when you spend 10 hours making enrichment and it breaks within 5 minutes, it's still fun, because at least
it hurts a little.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah.
But at least the animal had fun, and they're engaged and enriched for a good couple of minutes, and it makes us think as well to go back to the drawing board and start again, and try and make something that's more durable, more successful, more fun, that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, we'd love to answer anything, and hopefully you got some cool ideas, or if you haven't, then that's completely fine as well. We'd love to, if you guys have any ideas, obviously share them around. Anything that works for you, anything that didn't work for you. We're obviously all very open books. So if you want to, get in contact, feel free. We'll put our email again in that Facebook page. But thank you very much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, you guys can stop sharing screen if you like. Thank you so much for that. That was really great to see some of the innovation and just putting it all together. Does anyone have anything they want to ask now, while we've got a little bit of time still left in the session? If not, if it's quite a lot, I will. Oh, Emma, awesome.
Hello. There's some really cool ideas. I was just wondering how you guys made that giant ice block.
That was more just like what the HODs that organized that. It was just like one morning we came in, like, we have a huge ice block for you. We're like, oh, okay. So we didn't actually know how we got it. It just sort of got dumped. But yeah, I didn't really know.
Just got delivered. Yeah.
Just got delivered.
Yeah. Again, external sources bring in some cool stuff sometimes, and you just utilize it the best way possible.
Yeah. A lot of time the marketing team likes to organize stuff to get some cool footage for the animals. So they could have organized it. But yeah, there's a few ways.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask? This will be again going on the Facebook page and YouTube channel. So if you have come in a bit late or missed something, or I will put Hayden and Cade's email as well. So if you have any questions about the processes, the sort of risk analysis form, how they even made some things, or if you've got something cool too that you want to share, please feel free. So one of the goals for this presentation was to kind of get some collaboration and ideas together to try and get some really nice enrichment for the animals. But if there isn't any more questions, we might leave it at that. Now we got Sheila.
Hello, I
Yes.
don't really have a question. I just wanted to thank the guys again because it's great to have people volunteering to do these drop-ins. And so for anyone who's listening and has an idea that they want to share with the greater group, please send me an email where I'm trying to put together next year's drop-in sessions as we speak. So we're always looking for people who are keen to share what they know and what they're doing at their zoo. So drop us a line. Thanks, Beck.
Beautiful. All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks, Sheila. All right. Well, we will leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And thank you, Hayden and Cade, for all that effort and work in presenting.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.